you. Good morning and welcome to today's meeting. I would like to officially open the meeting at 9:32 a.m. and acknowledge we are hosting today's meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation and are joined by people from other lands around the state. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respects to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. Today's meeting will be run in accordance with the DAP Standing Orders 2025 under the Planning and Development DAP Regulations 2011. Today's meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the Planning and Development DAP Regulations 2011. Panel members are able to refer to technical devices throughout today's meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. Today we have two parts to our meeting and I would like to introduce members. To my furthest left is Member Clayton Heim and to my immediate left is Deputy Presiding Member Dale Page. Online for Part B we have no councillors online. There are apologies and I will come to those shortly. Online we have for Part C, President Lee Ballard from the Shire of Narrogin and Councillor Graham Broad from the Shire of Narrogin. My name is Francesca Lafanti, presiding member. We have two apologies for today's meeting in Part B. The apologies are from President Laura Smith and Councillor Linton Rumble. I'll deal with those disclosures shortly. There are no minutes, or the minutes for this meeting will be available on the DAP website. As we move through to the Part B of the agenda, we also have online, welcome, Len Kosovo, Technical Advisor for the Shire of Ashburton, and we have applicant Tom Wilday on behalf of Yindabara Energy. Members, can I have a show of hands that you've duly considered all matters contained within Part B and Part B related information on the agenda? That is unanimous for the minute taker. As I indicated earlier, we have two disclosures of interest relating to this item. The first is from President Audra Smith and it's a direct pecuniary interest. Her husband is employed by Rio Tinto and holds share in the prescribed amount in Rio Tinto, and as she has a direct pecuniary interest in Rio Tinto has a direct interest in a locational interest in relation to this proposal. Councillor Linton Rumble also has declared an interest that has been duly considered in accordance with the DAP provisions. Under the DAP provisions, particularly clauses Part 3, Councillor Rumble has disclosed he is a shareholder of Rio Tinto and therefore is a close associate of Rio Tinto. The RA on page 8 identifies Rio Tinto as the owner of the private access road, which is needed to access the site of the proposed workforce accommodation, the subject of this development proposal. And accordingly, he has got a pecuniary interest through that association and therefore is not able to participate in this matter. Members, are there any other disclosures of interest in relation to Part B of the agenda? There are no further disclosures of interest. We now move forward to the item under consideration at 3.1, workforce accommodation, and I will be handing over to the first presenter, Tom Wilday. Tom, as you are aware, in accordance with the DAP Standing Orders 2025, clause 4.8.2, your presentation is for 3 minutes. I know you don't necessarily have a large one. Would you like to present any comments in relation to this matter?
Thank you. Good morning, presiding member and panel members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak quickly on this item regarding the proposed workforce accommodation facility on Yindabara country. My name is Tom Wilday. I'm from RFF and I'm presenting on behalf of the applicant, Yindabara Energy Corporation. YEC is a partnership between Yindabara people and ACEN Corporation, and together we're building renewable energy projects that will deliver long-term benefits to traditional owners in the Pilbara region of Western Australia. The workforce accommodation before you today is an essential enabling project. It will house the construction workforce required to deliver on the approved Jinby solar facility a renewable energy project developed in partnership with Rio Tinto. We support the office's recommendation for approval, and we believe that this proposal is appropriate in location, temporary in nature, well planned and regulated, and supportive of community values by enabling First Nation-led renewable energy projects, supporting local employment and contributing to the Pilbara's energy transition. This workforce accommodation is tied directly to a specific renewable energy project approved by this panel, and it will allow construction to proceed efficiently and safely. We find the conditions recommended by the Shire to be fair, balanced and achievable, and YEC and its partners are committed to ensuring compliance with all requirements and operating the facility to high standards. In conclusion, we respectfully request the panel's support for the office's recommendation, and we look forward to delivering the project that reflects the Yindjibarndi people's aspirations for self-determination and leadership in decarbonisation. Thank you for your time this morning, and I'll be pleased to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions to this first presenter? Yes, Member Clayton-Heim.
Tom, I noticed, for instance, the toilet facility there has a toilet or universal toilet, accessible toilet, but all the buildings are raised and I couldn't see any ramps. So what's the arrangement going to be for that?
So we've progressed the design to a point where I suppose we're development application ready, and the intent is that we'll now progress the detailed design with one of two preferred contractors. We'll probably work through the universal access requirements with those contractors at that time, in collaboration with the Shire Building Services to come up with either an exemption to the full requirement of universal access or a smaller component, depending on what's suitable for that location and that workforce. Does that answer your question?
Sort of.
Sort of, yeah. So it's probably kicking the can down the road in a way. We will design the facility and at building permit stage to meet the requirements. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, are there any other questions? There are no further questions. Thank you very much for that. We will move to Mr. Len Cosgrove, who would you like to speak at all to this item, as you are the author of the report, I understand.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Member, and nice to see you all again after such a long time. No, look, I think Tom's summed it up adequately. I think Clayton's question is probably a good one. We contemplated a few more detailed design issues like that when we were doing the assessment, and our view was, look, rather than delay or try and bring in those elements into the development assessment stage, we would divert them to a later, more appropriate stage of the approval pathway. We put in a condition 12 that details the raft of requirements to be outlined in an operational management plan to be submitted for the Shire's approval. We did have the opportunity to liaise with RFF on these draft conditions on a without prejudice basis. So it was a good opportunity to work through the detail of what that might look like to fulfil that requirement at a later date. In that condition 12, there's things like transport arrangements, health and safety, quality assurance. We were mindful that from advice received from the Shire's building services staff, that if any aspect of the facility needs to be given a particular building classification, they would obviously have to achieve compliance with all the relevant standards in doing so, particularly if it's public buildings requirements. And so through that process, they would catch those elements. And so that's why I think through a combination of various conditions as well as advice notes, we wanted to just foreshadow for the applicant that the layout of the development is considered reasonable and appropriate, but the detailed design of the individual accommodation units might need some refinement based on further legislation or compliance with standards at a later date. I might also just mention, members, that because the development, it's not uncommon in the Shire of Ashburton, because the development is occurring on reserved land, there's very few standards and requirements that are specifically relevant in the case of this development. So, look, I think the applicant's done a good job in having due regard to things like noise, and giving some consideration to the acoustic impacts on workers accommodated in this facility due to the nearby freight line. There's some minor works that would need to be undertaken to some of the accommodation units. I think there was about 16 accommodation units in total that were affected. And our view was that they could easily be incorporated into construction standards at the time that these facilities are built, so long as there is kind of post-development and pre-occupancy acoustic certification provided that work has been done. But look, other than that, I've got nothing really further to add, but happy to take any questions that members might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, do you have any questions to Len Kosovo? Yes, Member Clayton-Heim.
And just in relation to condition 1, the standard validity period these days is 4 years. Do you have any issue with going from 2 to 4 years?
Through you, Madam Presiding Member, no, none whatsoever. That's perfectly reasonable.
Thank you.
Members, are there any other questions?
Just a minor one, if you
Yes,
don't mind.
over to
Thank
Member
you.
Dalpage.
So there are a few conditions that require adherence to different plans. And whilst I think it's implied in those conditions, implementation of those plans or conformance with those plans needs to be to the satisfaction of the Shire, but doesn't specifically say that. So would you be happy for us to include some wording in conditions 4, 5 and 11 that specifies that implementation of or adherence to those plans needs to be to the satisfaction of the Shire? I'm just mindful from time to time there can be disagreement between parties and the local government about whether requirements of that plan are actually being met. And just adding that wording would ensure it's perfectly clear that it's the Shire that will decide whether or not it's being met. Would you be happy for us to do that?
Yes, I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it, Madam.
Are there any other questions from panel members? If there are no other questions, we will move to the agenda. There's a recommendation at the beginning of the agenda. Is there a mover for the RA recommendation as written? It is moved by Member Clayton-Heim. Is there a seconder for the RA recommendation? It is seconded, Member Dale Page. Would the mover like to speak to the item?
I'm more than happy to support this proposal. It's a workforce accommodation facility which is required for a project, solar facility which has already been approved. The proposed use satisfies the aims and requirements of the Shire of Ashburton's local planning scheme number 7. I note there have been various referrals to other agencies with no adverse comments being received. The shortfall in parking is acceptable from my point of view, given the location and the fact that the workers will be mostly bussed in and out of the facility. Also note the lack of landscaping, and while that's a pity, I fully understand the reasons and therefore agree with the positions that have been taken. While not required, the social impact statement has been prepared and demonstrates the positive outcomes for this development. I'm more than happy to support it. Madam Chair, I'd like to just make that one amendment to condition 1 to change that from 2 years to 4 years.
Thank you. Amendment 1 is to modify condition 1 from 2 to 4 years. Is there a seconder for amendment 1? It is seconded, Member Dale Page. Would you like to speak any further?
Only to say that that's now been the current standard for development approvals.
I think I'd like to speak to the item. The amendment, sorry. I have no comments. We'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour? It is carried unanimous. Amendment 1. Back to yourself.
No, that's it. Thank you.
I move to the seconder, Member Dale Page.
Yes, thank you. Also happy to support the recommendation, but before talking to the substantive, I'd like to move a second amendment, please. I'd like to move, and I'm not sure if we should do this, and I'm suggesting we do an en bloc amendment to conditions 4, 5, and 11 to include the words "to the satisfaction."
Yes. Is there a seconder? It is seconded Clayton Heim, and that is modification to conditions 4, 5, and 11. Amendment 2.
Just reiterating my question to Mr. Kosovar, the reason is sometimes there could be disagreement between applicants or contractors and the local government about whether the requirements of certain plans or conditions are being met. The addition of the wording would ensure it is very clear that it is the Shire that will decide whether or not the condition is being met.
Thank you. Any other speakers in this electors commission? I have no comments. Do you want to write a reply? We are going to the vote on amendment 2 to modify conditions 4, 5, and 11 to include to the satisfaction of the Shire. All those in favour? Is carried unanimously. Back to yourself. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, presiding member. Yes, I too am happy to support on the basis the accommodation is needed for the Jingbee solar facility. That's already been approved by the RDAP. And the location of the fly camp and the longer term workforce accommodation is well within the approved clearing permit for the same project. The Shire's RA outlines that the proposal meets the aim of the local planning scheme, aligns with the intent of the reservation of the land under the scheme, also responds well to the relevant matters that need to be considered under clause 67 of the planning regs, and aligns with the Shire's policy on transient workforce accommodation subject to recommended conditions of approval. As mentioned by Member Hyam, although the parking requirements of the scheme are not being achieved, the parking bays will not be needed, given personnel will be transported from nearby towns to the site on a weekly basis. And whilst this reduces the number of parking bays required, does create a need for parking for oversized vehicles, and the Shire has recommended a condition that requires a parking and access plan to show how these will be accommodated on site. And although the proposal doesn't meet the landscape requirements, the remoteness of the development and the temporary nature of the development, I support the absence of landscaping on this occasion. So given the proposal will not impact other landowners or the amenity of the surrounding area, given it is needed for the development of the solar facility, very happy to support.
Thank you. I concur with the comments made, and I don't have any further comments to add that have been made. I will hand back to the mover. Do you wish for any follow-up?
No need for it.
We're going to the vote. All those in favour? It is carried unanimously. This juncture, we move back to the agenda. There are no Form 2 applications for this part of the agenda and no SAP reconsiderations, and accordingly I thank participation of parties in the agenda, and we will be now moving to our second part of the agenda, part C. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye.
For the minute taker is 9:50 a.m. and we will be changing. Good morning and welcome to our 2 new members to the meeting. President Lee Ballard, welcome, and Councillor Graham Ward, welcome. We also have in the room applicant Ross Montgomery and Rebecca Hanson, welcome as well to yourselves. Panel members, can I have a show of hands that you have duly considered all of the documentation contained in Part C of the agenda and Part C related information? That is unanimous for the minute taker. Members, are there any disclosures of interest in relation to this? And I will first go to members online and ask whether or not this was considered at either a council or a briefing session.
It hasn't been discussed at a council meeting or a briefing session as such. It was presented very early on to councillors, but it wasn't actually a briefing session.
And do you have any interest disclosures, President
No.
Lee Bollard?
No, I've nil.
Thank you. And Councillor Graham Broad, do you have any disclosures?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Members in the room, do you have any disclosures? There are no disclosures of interest for the minute taker. There are obviously no item 3 application form 1 applications, nor item 4 2 applications. We are dealing with a SAT reconsideration proposal, and I will first confirm we have applicants here, but you've indicated there is no presentation required. Thank you. And we do have officer, is that correct? We have officer online, Adam Margid.
He's just not accepting. So he just needs to accept.
I'm just seeing if we can get Adam up and visual online for us. Good morning. Good morning, Adam. Can you see and hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Adam, we have no submissions and presentations by the applicant, so we're going to hand directly to yourself. Would you like to speak to this item at all or make any comments before going to panel members?
Nothing further to add other than what's presented in the report. We did discuss with the applicant prior to finalising the draft recommendation and submission to DAPS. So we are satisfied that all our requirements have been met.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions to Shire Officer?
I don't know.
Members in the room? You got off that one without any questions. And thank you. Just stay online, Adam. We are going to the discussion. There may or may not be some questions, but we'll go to the discussion. Panel members, we are back at the agenda. There are no presentations. We have a recommendation at the beginning of the agenda. Is there a mover of the RA recommendation as written?
I'm happy to move.
It is moved, President Lee Ballard. Is there a seconder for the RA recommendation? It is seconded, Councillor Graham Broad. Would the mover like to speak to the motion on table?
No. Just as the officer mentioned, it's the discussion has been had, so I'm comfortable with the response. So thank you.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion on the table?
No, thank you, presiding member. Happy as presented.
Thank you. Members in the room, does anybody wish to speak to the item on the table? We're moving to Member Dale Page.
Very briefly, presiding member, I'm very pleased to see that the applicant has provided additional information to give the Shire some comfort about the nature and impact of site access and staging of construction and the extent of road upgrades that will consequently be needed. That led to suggested amendments to conditions this panel has previously imposed in response to the Shire's concerns, so very happy to support.
Thank you. Any other speakers in relation to this?
Just very briefly also, quite happy with the changes, the proposal to convert condition 4E to a advice note seems reasonable and self-explanatory, and the amended condition 13 is more precise and provides greater clarity for the proponent, so I'm more than happy to support that.
Thank you. I concur with the comments that have been made in relation to the additional material provided by the applicant and the clarification that has been given in relation to road and site access. And I also agree with the comments in relation to the landscaping provisions and the reasonableness around screening of the facility with the opportunity for ongoing discussions about additional landscaping within the road reserve. And I think that is consistent with the proposal. Those are my comments. I'm moving back to the mover. Would you like a right of reply, President Lee Ballard, on this item?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you. We are going direct to the vote in relation to this. All those in favour? For the minute taker, it is carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move back to our agenda. We are now at part D. There are listed in this part a series of SAT applications. I'm not, however, going to speak to any of those. They are, however, listed for your information. And accordingly, I will close today's meeting at 9:57 a.m. Thank everybody for your participation.
Thank you very much and good to catch up again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.